Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first live stream of 2021. And I know that you are all as probably as happy as I am to see 2020 in the rearview mirror, and we're keeping our fingers crossed and praying that 2021 is a little bit less of a dumpster fire than 2020 was. So, figured this would be a nice way to kind of kick the year off. I know it's the 2nd of January, but you guys have been asking for, a Saturday morning DVC Cawfee Tawk for a while. So I thought I would oblige. So let me introduce the folks who are joining me this week. And again, please bear with me. I'm still getting used to switching cameras and all that stuff. First, of course, joining us, Mr. Paul Krieger.
Hey, everyone.
Y'all know Paul. But joining us for the first time is Mr. Nick Cotton, who
hello.
is
Happy to be here.
Chief Sales and Marketing Officer for the world of DVC, our new corporate overlords. And Nick's going to talk about what that all means and how that all plays into this. I do want to start off by saying, as I announced yesterday, that we do have a new sponsor. I want to make it really clear to everybody that there was no problems with DVC Store. This was a business decision. Jerry, Tom, and the team at DVC Store remain my dear friends, and I wish them nothing but happiness and success. But with that said, we do have a new sponsor. So, but Nick also has a very interesting story on his path to where he is now. He started out, and I'm going to let him talk about this in a second, but he started out as an engineer working for Disney and became a DVC guide, which that's a hell of a leap, from engineer to guide, before starting DVC Resale Market.com. So, Nick, welcome. I am so glad to have you and to introduce you to everybody. I think a lot of people already know who you are. It's not like you're new to this by any stretch. But why don't you just give people a little background on yourself? I kind of softened the ground there for you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Pete. So super excited to be here with you guys here on the Saturday morning. It's kicking off 2021. As Pete alluded, thank you for that great warm introduction. My path at Disney did start in industrial engineering, not to be confused necessarily with Imagineering. The Imagineers are more of the creative types. We're more industrial engineers, are more of the efficiency numbers kind of folks. So hence why I still carry around my giant TI-89 calculator with me everywhere I go. If you ever saw me do a presentation or you ever toured me at DVC, it's not the first time you've seen that calculator. But I was an industrial engineer for 4 years for the Walt Disney Company. It was really a fantastic experience. I supported all kind of different areas, including Disney Cruise, Disney Reservation Center, Disneyland Paris, and as well as Disney Vacation Club. And then that led me to my next path, where I ultimately became a Disney Vacation Club guide. I remember when I first took that role, I remember HR calling me that day, and they said, "Hey, before we drop your salary like 80%, we just want to make sure that you're comfortable with this." And I said, "Yeah, it'll work out. It'll be okay." So I became a Disney Vacation Club guide. Amazing experience. Within about a year and a half of that role, I joined the cruise team through Disney Vacation Club, and then I would go out on sailings at that time, just the magic and the wonder. And then that also became, of course, the dream and the fantasy, joined the fleet. And then in 2014, I created DVC Resale Market. I really wanted a place where folks that could still get that Disney service, that Disney-esque service, whether they were buying or selling. I wanted them, to kind of be able to have that expertise in the secondary world. And so we started that in 2014, and it's been a great ride. And that's a little bit about me. And then I'm sure we'll get into a little bit of where we are today in the next evolution of DVC Resale Market with what we're introducing in 2021 here, the world of DVC.
Yeah. You and Brad Schaefer approached me several months ago and talked to me about the ideas you had for World of DVC, and got me really excited. So I'm glad we have the opportunity to work together. And folks, I see some questions coming through. I am going to start taking questions a little bit later on. Just kind of want to explain to everybody what's going on and to just, get everybody kind of on the same page. And look, and also, if it looks like I haven't slept in 3 days, I haven't slept in 3 days. Okay. I have been a lot going on. So no comments about the bags under the eyes. I just literally had to, right before this broadcast, I was buying new eye stuff. Because trying to fight the aging process unsuccessfully, but trying. Okay. So when we talk about World of DVC, we're actually talking about a few different companies. We're talking about DVCResaleMarket.com, DVCRentalStore.com, and MoneraFinancial.com. And Nick, I want to start off with Monera. I've used Monera. I think I said to you before we started that I won't use the exact analogy I used, but let's just say Monera makes it very, 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 very easy to buy that contract you want, and you're an enabler of add-on-itis. I think that is a fair description of Monera.
Yeah, no, I think it does. I'm so excited to be representing Monera now as well. The creators of Monera Financial did a very revolutionary thing when they created it, because you're not actually financing even on credit there. Although they've historically in their past, they've introduced a credit check model that may introduce it again at some point, but that's not the core of how they started in their core, and really the core product at Monera. You're financing based on the collateral. And when you tell somebody from the outside world, wait a second, you're financing on collateral of timeshare, you go to any banker and, you're going to have to sit down with them for a few hours and explain this is a totally different product when you're talking about Disney Vacation Club, as most of the listeners probably are fully aware. And so the beauty of it is, it's so easy to be able to lend in this world of purchasing Disney Vacation Club because of Monera. So, you go to their site. If you haven't been, go, just even if you just want to play around with it to see what me and Pete are talking about, get a quote. You just put in the contract that you're looking at, and then the power is really in your hands on on how you want to structure it based on how much you want to put down and the length of the term that you want. So you want to be, put the least amount down. Do you want to get more aggressive with how much you put down and have lower monthly payments? You can have terms that go out to up to 10 years versus most historical models are, you submit all your information. We get, we go behind a curtain, we determine your credit worthiness, we look at the bureaus, and then we come back to you with a denial or an acceptance. And then based on that credit, the acceptance could be the acceptance you want to hear, that, oh, it's outstanding, or, there's a bump or two in the road, so that rate's going to have to go up about 50%. So there's no mystery behind a curtain here. It's very transparent, which, I think makes it easier. And certainly, I just think it's very exciting. I was telling me and Pete have talked about it. It's very exciting for me too. Historically, being a Disney Vacation Club guide, one of the worst experiences you would ever have is that you would meet a nice family. After speaking with them about Disney Vacation Club for 90 minutes, they're like, okay, hey, we're ready to join. Let's sign up. And then you go run their credit and they can't even be approved. So there is no option for them to join unless they wanted to pay for most of that, for the entire membership in cash, which most of us, that's not realistic. Or it comes back, it perhaps maybe there was a bumper in the road during credit, or maybe it's just you're still establishing credit. Whatever the reason may be, your credit score wasn't in almost that very excellent to near perfect category. So your rate goes from maybe something that would have been 10 to 11% to climbs up to 15 to 16%. And then obviously that significantly changes your monthly payment. So I love the transparency of Monera. I love that it's based on the collateral, what you're buying. And so to me, I've always viewed it as a very revolutionary thing. So I'm very excited to be able to talk, more and more about it and make it, and it just makes it so much easier to be able to obtain the Disney Vacation Club resale.
Oh. Here again, I'm hitting the wrong buttons when I'm trying to switch cameras. I don't know how they do it. The guys, my producers, I don't know how they do it because I'm just not that coordinated. So, again, seeing a couple questions come through, I'll reiterate what I said in the beginning. Nothing happened with DVC Store. This was a business decision. Okay? That's it. So there's no drama. There's no story. Just a business decision. So let me just say it again. But Nick, seeing just from my own experience with Monera, it was frighteningly easy. I have a couple of contracts financed with Monera, and it is, and now of course I'm looking through the contracts you have on DVC Resale Market. I'm like, oh, that one looks really good. Like, no, I'm not adding on any more points. I already have enough. But we've all said that. All right, so that's Monera. Let's talk about DVC Resale Market. I think it's a good segue over to that, and kind of tell us about how you got that started and what your path with that has been.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was a direct guy, I would get asked by my members occasionally that wanted to sell, hey, can't you sell this for me? You're the person that sold it to me originally. I'd like you to represent me on selling it. And unfortunately, when you work for a developer, it's almost a similar analogy I give to people is if you work for a home builder, you can't then independently list their home again, right? You still work for a developer. It's much the same way when you're a direct guide for Disney Vacation Club. So for me, it really kind of set off a spark. It was like, wait a second, wouldn't it be great for these folks to have somebody to represent them on the selling side that had all this great, Disney Vacation Club knowledge, had been internal for so many years, had went through the 6-week training program that Disney provides for when you become a Disney Vacation Club guide. So, that kind of sparked my interest in it. We created it in 2014. Since then, now we have a wonderful team of just so much, history there, so much knowledge. We have 13 former Disney Vacation Club sales guides. We also have another 3 people on our admin staff that were quality assurance managers at Disney Vacation Club as well. So really a vast knowledge here. We also just recently added Linda Smith, Randy Cook to the team. Both had roughly 25 years of tenure at Disney Vacation Club. So we're really excited to add them to the team as well. But another thing that I think that I always wanted to do, and we've done with Resale Market, is that I wanted to also provide as much data as possible to the public in a concise, easy to understand, easy to read format. I wanted people to make the most informed decisions they possibly could. So, if anybody's seen our monthly reports that we do with, Right of First Refusal blog, the Average Price blog, we really want, full transparency to the public and to be able, to see exactly what's going on, nothing behind, a hidden curtain, so to speak. And then, I think something else that was always, a big driver for me too is, it is what we present to the public in terms of our website. And I wanted something that was always just something that I would enjoy myself going to use. So it was be very functional. I could find exactly what I wanted very quickly and easily. And it just had a little bit of that, Disney-esque pizzazz to it, a little pixie dust, if you will. And so, right now it's funny, as we talk about resale market, one of the things that has been such a really crazy, pleasant surprise is the success in 2020. It was, resale market, really along with Monera too, finished ahead in terms of numbers of where it was in 2019. And that really was in part, especially due to a very strong December surge in sales. But I think it's a lot of optimism out there. So I'm so excited to see what 2021 is going to bring us.
Well, I wanted to talk about that a little bit. I do want to talk about DVC Rental Store as well in a little bit. But just to let everybody know, Nick's wife, LaToya, is also our broker, our real estate broker for moving to Orlando. She's also, I believe, the broker of record for DVC Resale Market, isn't she?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
She's the boss in every angle of my life, Pete.
The power behind the man, right?
100%.
So I only mention that because obviously the real estate market in Orlando is booming. It's defying what anybody would have expected, I think, given the circumstances in 2020. Do you think there's any connection between the fact that DVC resales, at the very least, haven't been dramatically impacted by everything that went on? Is there a connection, do you think, or is it just happenstance?
Well, I think there certainly could be some correlation, right? I mean, at the end of the day, when you're buying DVC, the vast majority of the properties are here at Walt Disney World. So obviously those destinations are very similarly linked in terms of where they're at. Purposes could be a little bit different, but I think, at the end of the day, I think that when it comes to DVC, certainly, I think a lot of what we're hearing right now is that people are like, you know what, I've been pretty cooped up in 2020. I am certainly ready to get out and start doing the fun things again. And I think, I can tell you one thing as a parent, I have a 3 and a 6-year-old, is you have 1 year where you don't get to take a part of those vacations. And for us, like a lot of families that are probably listening to this, those vacations mean Disney. And you take away that for a significant amount of time. As an adult, it may not feel like that much time, but when you have a child, it feels like an eternity, because there's only so much time you have, and you just took away a year of that from me that I could experience that with my child. I think it really kind of draws in that importance of, okay, we want to plan for the future. We are going to be getting away. We are going to have that commitment to vacation, and I think Disney, that's what Disney Vacation Club is all about. And I think real estate in Orlando, I mean, no, to me, that one's been even less of a surprise, the demand for that, because when you have basically told about half the world that they don't have to come into an office anymore, well, wait a second, I can live in warm weather year round, and I can just do this remotely. Yeah. All right, well, let's pick out that house in Orlando. Let's go to the place that in January, like right now, it's January the 2nd, and it's about 82 degrees outside.
Well, I have 77, but your point is well taken.
About 40 here.
What's that, Paul?
Said it's about 40 here, I think. Maybe.
Well, you choose to live there. We make life choices, Paul. We make life choices. I just want to address a couple things that I see coming in on the stream. First of all, people are asking about this report that Nick is talking about. Every month, Nick does a sales and right of first refusal report based on what the activity at DVC Resale Market, and publishes that on his blog, which you can find by going to dvcresalemarket.com. And this report is it's really, really good. I read it every month, and Nick is an expert. Nick is an absolute expert with this stuff. So let's kind of pivot maybe a little bit over to that discussion. and talk about what some of the trends you're seeing right now are that might inform what we can expect this year.
No, great segue for that. Right now we are experiencing a surge like we have never seen in sales in December, late December, going into January. I would say the last 3 weeks or so of December, sales were roughly 40 to 50% over prior year. Could be a little bit of a phenomenon of more people at home, maybe a little bit less travel, a little more time in front of the computer. But I also think, again, just going back to 2021 very likely being, the comeback year, the year that we're going to get back out on vacation. I think that's leading to some of the very strong demand that we're seeing right now. Our inventory, just to give some perspective on it, of listings has gone from roughly 400 to the low 300s in just a matter of a few weeks. And that's not to say that we're not still capturing listings. We are. It's just they are going out at a much faster rate than we can bring them in right now. So what does that mean as we go into 2021? Well, historically, when you look at seasonality of Disney, in Disney and Disney Vacation Club and Disney Vacation Club Resale, it follows a certain pattern. So when I was an engineer, I worked at the Disney Reservation Center, and also when I was a DVC guide, especially analyzing or as an engineer, even analyzing the telesales department. And now with DVC Resale Market, we notice very much a very similar seasonality. January through April tends to be vacation planning season. So we typically see the strongest demand then. And then it kind of goes into the summer season, which is kind of a mid-range for demand. And then by late fall, when you get November and December, that's usually the slowest demand time of the year. So it'll be really interesting, as we are already surging in sales, but prior to peak season, what is that going to mean, in January, February, March? And certainly if this trend continues, I could see inventory tighten up significantly. When inventory starts to tighten up significantly, generally prices will, of course, go up. Right now, specifically, like Grand Floridian, that is probably our single hottest resort right now. And as soon as we get a lot of those contracts in, they're going out pretty quickly, especially, your 150, your 200 pointers that have been priced, maybe in the 150s, 160s per point. They're going out very quickly. So I would definitely expect probably Grand Floridian prices. I'd be shocked if they're not going for a little bit more throughout this peak season. And why Grand Floridian? Well, certainly I think the access to Magic Kingdom now, that direct walk path is certainly going to contribute to that. But I think in general, across the whole board, we are seeing a surge in sales. So, what does that mean? If I'm looking to get a contract right now, I would say probably if you're thinking about a contract over the next, beginning of 2021, it doesn't mean that, are you going to get priced out in the next 3 or 4 months? I don't think we're going to see, I don't think that may be my biggest concern, is as much as you might pay a little bit more, but also your selection will be a little bit more limited is also be the fear. So if you're interested, you think over the next few months, whether it be adding on or joining, I would definitely go ahead and take a peek right now, because I'm afraid inventory could get crunched down a little bit. Prices may also go up a little bit. If you're looking to list, right now you are in a seller's market. So, this is an excellent time to consider it. If you were, what's really interesting too, is sometimes we hear from sellers right now and they're like, oh gosh, I'm sure, Nick, before I even talk to you, I'm sure it's a terrible time to sell, 2020, yada, yada. But hey, we had something come up. I think I might need to sell it. And then you tell them like, well, actually, prices are, 5% higher now than they were this time last year. And they're like, what? It's and so they're like, oh, okay. So I think, we even surprised some sellers with the news of market conditions as well.
Paul, let me get you in here to ask some questions or make some comments. You've been very quiet. Other than talking about the weather.
I'm just here listening. And when Nick was talking about his career, I was just like, man, I want to be Nick in my next life. Like that'd be fun. um, no, I think when it comes to what we're seeing in the DVC resale market right now, a lot of it has to do with the fact that people have money that they've saved up for maybe a Disney World vacation, and those people that didn't get to actually go on their maybe biannual vacation last year might be looking at Disney Vacation Club for the first time because they have more money sitting for that and they didn't get to spend it last year. And I told these two a little bit earlier. There's a fun little thread over on Disboards talking about where would you buy with your stimulus money in terms of Disney Vacation Club. And that's a serious discussion. You know, I understand and we acknowledge that that stimulus money for a lot of people is going to be to help pay bills and to help keep them on their feet. But for the economy, it's also to help make sure that the economy stays upright. And so people are going to spend that money on traveling and vacationing and those type of things as well. And you couple that money with maybe $5,000-$6,000 that you have sitting aside because you had a canceled Disney vacation last year. Now you're going, well, maybe I can get a Disney Vacation Club contract and now have those Disney Vacation Clubs for 30, 40, 50 years as a result of everything going on. So I definitely think we're going to see a continued increase in interest in terms of Disney Vacation Club as we head into 2021 and beyond.
And there's a couple of questions coming in that I think are really good. And I apologize to the folks watching on Facebook. This thing is still doing the thing where it refers to you as Facebook user. If you're on YouTube, I'm seeing your name. I'm just, and I will get this fixed. I know there's an easy fix somewhere. I just haven't found it. But one of the questions coming in that I thought was really good, if I could find it. Here we go. If it wants to come up, there it is. I'd love to get Nick's thoughts on resale restrictions at Riviera. Does he think they will go away? What do you think, Nick? Talk about Riviera.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. You know, I would say if I had to put a percentage on will it go away, I'd probably be more at the 80-20, meaning the 80 that it probably will not go away. I think, you know, when you look at this restriction, I'll look at it in two ways. Look at the kind of call them the classic 14, if you will, the resorts prior to Riviera. Not really that significant in my mind because I think you've already got a lot of the best locations on property with those 14. When we look at Riviera, a little bit of a different animal. I believe that one is you know, it is pretty strong restriction. I mean, you can only go to Riviera if you're going to a Disney Vacation Club resort. And so it brings up kind of two dilemmas. I mean, one is just the fun appeal, like, right? You know, the whole fun appeal of owning DVC is that I own one, I own them all, I can stay in any of them. So maybe this time I'm thinking, hey, I'd love to try out the Animal Kingdom, or you know, maybe I'd love to be close to Magic Kingdom and go to one of the Monera resorts. What takes that away? But it also brings up another issue, which is just simply staying, you know, just actually getting an accommodation, right? Because if you're a Riviera owner and you don't book in that 7 to 11 month time frame, you know, it could be very nerve wracking once all the other members of Disney Vacation Club get to come in that booking window at the 7 month mark. And what if you can't even book your dates? So, you know, it is a challenging restriction. I think, you know, something you got to be very mindful of if you're purchasing Riviera. And that goes for people who even purchase Riviera direct as well. You have to be mindful of when you go to sell it, that could be in the buyer's mindset. And it should be in the buyer's mindset because that's what they're actually getting is a property where they can only stay there if they're going to a Disney Vacation Club resort. That, you know, I mean, when you think about getting to your question is, you know, will Disney pull that back? You know, I think the only way they would, you know, really consider pulling that back is if their sales suffered so significantly from doing something like this. And, you know, pre-pandemic, I didn't get any indication that I think it was pulling some people away from purchasing, but I don't think it was enough to move the needle on that decision. Now that we're kind of in the post-pandemic world, it's really kind of even changed their goals, their mindset, with DVC. So it'll be interesting. Do they have a Disney Vacation Club where they are like huge goals, huge targets? We want to expand all over the place, or is it going to be more of a boutique mindset where we're going to go a little bit more on, our goal is more margin and less on volume. And that could also perhaps influence a decision like that. Certainly if you think they're going, if you're in the mindset that they may stick to more of a boutique mindset, less growth, but, potentially just focus more on margin, then I think it almost lends to probably much, much less likely that, that restriction like that will be pulled back. But even in a high growth mindset, if these sales aren't suffering significantly, I still don't see them pulling back that restriction. So I think for right now, if I'd have put money on it, put odds on it, I would be in the 80-20 mindset. 80 being I just don't think that they're going to pull back that restriction, on Riviera.
And my dear friend Yvette from the Netherlands was smart and put her name in the question, so I knew it was from her. Hello, Yvette. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to Emil. Hope he's feeling good. What is better, Nick? Buying resale and going for price, or going for the same use here?
Oh boy, that's a great question too. I
know I'm surprised. I'm surprised too, coming from Yvette. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know that's it. Well, Yvette, that's a great question. And one of the things that I love about resale, and it's so interesting too. I just, every time we get a new hire, it's so exciting because a lot of our hires come from they've been guides for a long time. And so when I was recently training Linda and Randy, I was like, you have to get a little bit out of the mindset of you are going to buy the same use year. I really want you to buy what the developer has right now. When you're in the world of resale, it's now like the buffet is all out, right? So just about any resort that you've ever seen in a use year, all the options are there. What that creates, though, and what I train our new staff on, is the challenge that presents is you have to then really work with our guests to really focus in on what is best for them, because we do have such a great array of options, which is fantastic. So this question does come up pretty frequently with our clients, with our buyers. And what I tell folks is this is going to really come down to a personal preference, because if you are going to focus only on your use year, you are only going to look at roughly 1/8 of the market, as there are 8 different use years. So not only does that mean that you may end up paying a higher price, you may have to wait longer for the contract you want. Now, on the flip side of that, the dilemma is if I get a different use year, a lot of times people think, okay, it's just a different month, so what? No big deal. I can remember 2 different dates of when to make my points, but it also creates a second entirely new membership. And so to use those points in conjunction with each other that are in 2 different memberships, you do have to transfer those points from one membership to the other membership, then make that reservation. Now, for some folks that we talk to, it is absolutely no big deal. I mean, they are very ingrained in DVC mechanics. And so for them, it's very second nature. And I would almost dare say that some of them even enjoy it. But I think for your casual Disney Vacation Club user, I think it can become a bigger aggravation than some of them would like to deal with. And I think it's best that they stay in the same use year. So what I like to do with this scenario is really just have a conversation with people on a one-on-one basis of really what is best for them. And usually in a few minutes, we'll quickly gauge together whether having that same use year or a different use year is going to be the right answer for you.
All right. That's a good answer. I didn't listen to the suggestion of keeping everything in the same use year. I am not one of the people that Nick was talking about that enjoy the back and forth. I regret not having one use year, but It also really, like having 3 use years, because I've got February, March, and September. Having 3 use years means that more contracts are attractive to me, which doesn't help my add-on-itis any. So I'm like, oh, well, that's a February. Oh, that's a March. That's a September. So I guess there are pluses and minuses. Let's see. From Tim. Hey, Pete, we love you all. We are about to close on our contract for Hilton Head. We bought 125 points and are wondering if we should add more points before we close. We heard prices are going up. Anything on that, Nick?
Well, I think there's some rumbling there. Obviously, well, we do know that direct prices are going up on the properties that they're actively selling with Alani and Riviera. I do have, heard some rumors too that there are going to be, for the direct side, some sold out properties also increasing in prices. For those that don't know, that aren't familiar with the term sold out, with direct Disney Vacation Club, any property that's not actively being sold from the developer, right? Like right now, for example, that would still be Alani and that would be Riviera. Anything that has previously been sold out and now they get points back on, is what we kind of consider as sold out inventory, meaning something like the Beach Club, the Boardwalk, Bay Lake, etc. So there are probably, from what I'm hearing, at least a handful of those that are going to go up in mid-February. I dare say Grand California is going to be getting very close to $300 a point. I don't think it's going to hit that, but maybe about $295 is what I've heard out there. So, and of course, when those things happen on the direct side, inevitably, it's not like a light switch, on the resale side that our prices automatically just go up that same amount. But what tends to happen is somewhat of a trickle effect in the months following that direct price increase that we do see some increase in the prices in the resale world. Now, you couple that with our previous conversation of inventory tightening, you definitely could be seeing some prices going up in the resale world. I would not be surprised at all.
All right. Now, this question already scrolled off my screen, so I can't find it, but I figure it's a really good, I want to talk about DVCRentalStore.com. That's also one of the sponsors involved in World of DVC. And someone had asked the question earlier, what do you think of buying contracts with the express intent of using them to rent out the points?
Yeah, it's a really reasonable, thought, to have. I would say, especially if you're paying cash, I think the model could work, pretty favorable. If you are financing the contract, just do some number crunching there. I mean, it could still work out, but I would definitely suggest putting a pen to paper and looking at how that math works out for you. And is that return, worth it to you? Might be, might not be. But I even, I think a few years back, we did a blog actually where, I had talked to several members who basically, let's say they needed around 150 points, they would actually buy 300 points. They had a plan, or they were already actively doing the plan, where they would be renting out roughly half those points each year, take the rental income that they were getting from those 150. Let's say, for example, like, DVC Rental Store paying up to $16 a point, especially for certain resorts in the 7 to 11 month booking window, will take that and then cover their dues for the entire 300 point membership. So really not a bad plan, kind of a neat way to cover the cost of your dues each year. It's a great question because I've seen people do this. I've seen people do it successfully. Certainly a very, very reasonable thought that you can do with your Disney Vacation Club points. This may be a good time to mention Rental Store too. I'm so excited about 2021 for Rental Store. Maybe if we look at the individual silos, maybe the one I'm most individually excited for, we've got a brand new website that's going to be coming out for them late this week. And I think I think everybody's going to really enjoy it. It's going to simplify the process of especially looking for reservations that you want. You'll be able to quickly see if there's availability or not. And then they also have some confirmed reservations, some pre-booked reservations out there too. Where a lot of those came from were just reservations that had to get rebooked during this, year of COVID. But you can easily filter through those, and some really, really great deals out there too, especially if you're looking to do any last minute travel. They've got some reservations that go down for as little as $10 a point right now. I don't know if we're ever going to see that again. So great time to take advantage of that. You can check out their site even right now, dvcrentalstore.com, and you can see some of those great deals. But when we release a new site later this week, then I think it'll be a little bit even easier to filter that out. We're going to add a little bit of pizzazz to the site too. So we're really excited about some things to come. Also with Rental Store, we even have some new policies that'll be coming out that I think will be very, very advantageous for guests and members alike. So stay tuned for that. And we're going to probably have announcements no later than late next week on that, along with the new website.
All right. Now, a couple questions that are coming in, and this one from Jennifer Rowe is representative of a lot of what we're seeing. Is it harder for people who live outside of the U.S. to purchase Disney Vacation Club? What say you, Nick?
Jennifer, I love that you asked this question because in the world of resale, it's actually much easier, actually. And the reason that is two things. One is if you're selling for the developer, there's certain if that developer is not registered in that area, in that country, or like let's take Canada for example. Disney Vacation Club, at least from my time there, we were only registered consistently in the province of Ontario. So for example, if you were to call me from Quebec, I couldn't talk to you when I was a direct guide. It was, hey, you let me know when you're going to be in Orlando, you're going to be visiting Walt Disney World. We can talk face to face then, but I could not legally talk to you about purchasing DVC if you are in Quebec. And that went for a lot of countries and a lot of provinces in Canada outside of Ontario. And so in the world of resale, we're a reseller, we're not the developer, so we don't have to. Those restrictions fortunately don't apply, so we can much easier sell to international guests and help international guests out. We can also help international guests, that are looking to sell their memberships too. We can welcome to that process. The other thing I love is Monera Financial for any international folks looking to purchase, is because again, this isn't a credit check model. This is a collateral model. So the beauty of that is if you're somebody that that lives, let's say in Spain, I don't have a social security number for you to go run a credit check on, right? So the traditional model of doing credit checks fails for those people, where with the Monera model, since it's based on collateral, it doesn't matter.
So that's a really good point that we should make, that Monera, you can finance through Monera if you're not a U.S. citizen, is right?
That's correct.
And that's because I know I get that question a lot. So yeah, this model definitely does make it easier. Here's a great question from Karen Ferraro, asking, as soon as it decides to put it up, do you think Disney will crack down on how often owners rent? Some people you see on rental boards seem to have endless rental points available. What do you think about that? Well, at first, let me throw that over to Paul. Paul, do you think, I need to get you in this conversation. Do you think that's ever going to happen?
It falls into the same realm for me as walking does. It is something that Disney is aware of, but for them, there's no gain, there's no loss that it's occurring. So I don't really see them ever moving into a realm where they prohibit it or limit it or something like that. I just think that it's not an area that they really care about all that much. It doesn't affect them.
I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly, but I also think there's a legality involved. I mean, you're buying a real estate interest, and I think they're going to be limited on what they can tell you can do with it as long as you're not breaking any laws. Now, does that mean that they can't write it in to contracts in the future? I guess they could, but it's not something they could make retroactive. Do you agree with that, Nick?
100% on the retroactive thing. I think there's a significant legal challenge there. If there was something that they could have done about it, very likely they would have done it a long time ago. Because I think, when I was a Vacation Club, Vacation Club Guide, one of the first things we would tell everybody, this is a real estate interest that you own. What does that mean? Well, that means that you can stay on it. You can rent it. You can will it off to your heirs. So if it's a real estate interest that I own, and now I also can't rent it, then, how much, and you say I can't do this, can't do that, then how much of it is really real estate interest at this point? Versus I'm just kind of really renting it's a glorified rental from you. So I think you kind of walk down a little bit of that path. Is it something that they could do retroactively? Pete, I really agree with you on that. I think that would be a significant challenge. Is it something they could do for future ones? But maybe. I mean, we'd probably have to consult with a real estate attorney on the ramifications of even that. But I think if it was something that was super easy, then I think they would have perhaps already done it. But also to Paul's thought, I mean, you also got to think of what's the damage factor with it too. What does it really cost them? I think the biggest case you would have for any potential damages to them in the rental world is perhaps they see a little bit less breakage because of rental. When I say breakage, that may be a term that some people are familiar with, some aren't. If you're a super analytical and you read through all of your development, you read through all the Disney Vacation Club documents, then you've seen the word breakage. For some of us, we perhaps haven't. But basically, breakage is every timeshare in the world pretty much has a clause in there where at a certain point, and for Disney, it's a certain point before your use year starts that they can take. Not specifically, they're taking your points out of your account, but they're using roughly that same equivalent to open up a reservation for basically for the developer for Disney to rent out accommodation. So obviously rental could open up an opportunity for less breakage because people are maximizing their points. They won't see as many points go to waste. But outside of that, it's really hard to say, okay, well, where is the real damage coming to Disney? Because at the end of the day, you also keep in mind, when we're talking about Disney Vacation Club, this isn't an individual company. Maybe it's an individual company, but it is part of a much, much bigger company, obviously, Disney. And so when you think about it, if I'm renting DVC points or if I'm staying on DVC points, where am I going? I'm going to Disney World. What do I do when I'm at Disney World? Well, I spend money. I'm buying $5 Cokes and I'm buying $30 T-shirts. So at the end of the day, it's not necessarily a terrible thing either. When people rent out points, because at the end of the day, they're still coming to Disney. They're still occupying the resorts. And Disney tends to take, a much more global approach to things. Just to give you an example, before the pandemic, and hopefully this comes back on the board because I thought it was a pretty cool idea. There's even vacation homes, down in Osceola County, not too far from Disney. Like the Reunion community is a popular one there, where Disney was actually looking to provide even transportation from Reunion into Disney. Why would they look to do that? Well, because if you're staying at one of these vacation homes that are off property, there's also Universal, there's also SeaWorld, there's International Drive, there's other destinations that you could go. So why don't we make it even easier for you to come to Disney? Another example of that is Disney's Magical Express. I did a little behind the scenes work on that back in 2004, 2005. Originally, actually, the internal name was Disney Guest Express for any of those trivia buffs. But before we went live with it, it became Magical. But with that, the original thought was that we're going to start it off complimentary, but we are going to charge for that because obviously it is a service that you're getting, and instead of paying for at that time would have been a taxi ride. Now you probably more compare it to an Uber or Lyft, but it is obviously in place of that. And however, it became so popular, and also you were like, wait a second, the real benefit of this isn't necessarily that we can charge each person $59 to give them a lift to Disney World. The real benefit is they're not renting a car; they are now going directly from the airport right into the sphere of Walt Disney World. And then the idea is now they stay here because they're just relying on Disney World transportation. And obviously Disney World transportation is not going to give them that lift to Universal Studios. So, one thing I think that, does, certainly benefit, I think the world of rental is more of that global mindset for Disney too.
All right. I'm looking at some of the other questions here. A lot of people talking about, if Disney would do rental restrictions, but so I'm just kind of one question that did come up earlier that I can answer real quick. Somebody asked if Monera Financial does refinance on your DVC contracts, and the answer to that is yes. Nick, I'm going to let you talk about why that would be a good idea while I run to the bathroom because I had too much coffee before Cawfee Talk.
No worries. So if, Monera also does refis. So, if you're, where it could help you is if you're saying, hey, I might want to, lower my cost right now, but maybe I stretch it out a little bit further. Maybe go check out if it's a more favorable term than what you originally had. Absolutely visit the Monera website. To see if that's something that would work in your favor or not. But that is absolutely something that Monera does offer. And one thing too, if we were talking about some different restrictions and stuff, that's also I think kind of interesting is how the companies, now that we're in a world of DVC where we've got rental store and we've got resale market and Monera together, is how they can complement each other. For example, when we talk about a restriction to Riviera and you're like, well, gosh, what if I do buy Riviera on the resale market and that means I can only go to Riviera? Well, technically, yes, but not necessarily, because you could always say, well, what if I took those Riviera points and then I rented them through DVC Rental Store, and then I just took that money to go to Beach Club. So there's some really kind of neat things that you can do, even with a restriction like that, to still be able to go to various resorts that you may want to visit.
All right. And oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'm just making sure you're back.
No, I'm here. I'm here. Let's see. Okay, here's a question. Does Monera refinance Aulani?
Jennifer, great question. They do not finance or refinance Aulani, Hilton Head, or Grand California. So right now with Monera, they only lend for Florida-based properties. So of course that means everything at Walt Disney World, along with Vero Beach. And I say for right now, that is something that is on the table that we are considering. Originally, when Monera was created about 7, 8 years ago, they did originally lend to those other areas too, and it's something that we are putting back on the table for consideration.
Okay, and I just want to let everybody know Paul had to take off because his roof guy just showed up. So just letting everybody know, and we're going to wrap up here in a second. I think I'll take a couple more questions. Let's see. This is a good question. We purchased a guaranteed week 49 studio at Copper Creek. We had to go through Disney Direct. Is it possible to purchase these on the resale market? We may like a couple weeks back to back. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, so I think the question is, can we get more guaranteed weeks in the world of resale? Absolutely. I mean, when somebody resells a guaranteed week, it still carries that guaranteed week. That does not change at all. Now, the biggest challenge you are going to find is certainly just getting that. When does that come on the market? Because when we sold Aulani Direct, and this trend continued with other future developments as well, only 10% of the resort was designated guaranteed week. So what that means is that it's just going to be very, very highly limited of when that's going to come on the market. Now, one of the things that we did because of situations like this, we are looking for that like rare diamond that, you know, we just don't know when that would get listed. Instead of having to go to our website every 10 minutes, which we do appreciate from a search engine optimization standpoint, you're welcome to go on our website every 10 minutes. But to save your life some time and aggravation, if you download our app, you can actually just put in there, Alani, just show me guaranteed weeks. Whenever a guaranteed week pops up, then, you know, the app would alert you, and that can save you some aggravation there. And even if you may see some guaranteed weeks that aren't the ones that you're looking for, but the guaranteed weeks coming on the resale market aren't super frequent. So it wouldn't be anything, I think, that provides very much aggravation to you. Because again, only 10% of these resorts, they sold as guaranteed weeks. And then some of that 10% actually just got reverted back to a general point program if Disney Vacation Club wasn't successfully selling those guaranteed weeks. So for example, when we're talking about, you know, like the week you have, week 49, we get into week 50, 51, 52, as you can imagine, those weeks do pretty good because you're talking about, you know, you're getting to the holiday season, you're getting, you know, mid-December through the holiday season. So those are popular weeks. But, you know, if we're talking about, you know, week 3 of the year and we're the 3rd week of January, you know, it may not be necessarily like, you know, the most popular week of the year. For some people, there may be certain families out there, oh my gosh, that's the week I travel every single year. But of course, you're not going to find that to be highly universal like you would, like especially a week 51 or 52 and you know, during Christmas and New Year's.
All right. Another question. This is a good question because I don't think I've ever asked you this in all the times that we've talked. Tidal Wave 1 asks, where does Nick own DVC and what does he love about it?
That's great, Tidal Wave. I love that question. So I own at Boardwalk, but I've, you know, and I've owned it through the years at various different resorts. So, you know, I mean, I've owned Copper Creek, Bay Lake Tower. I've owned, you know, a Polynesian. So I've owned a few different ones. The one that I always kind of just always keep is the Boardwalk. I love my favorite area of Disney World to stay at is the Beach Club and Boardwalk area. My wife and I actually honeymooned, you know, at the Beach Club. So I love the atmosphere of the Boardwalk. Of course, I love the pool at Beach Club. You know, who doesn't? I love just the quick walk right into the back of Epcot, which I know a lot of folks, you know, love, but I'm no exception, you know, to that. One of my two of my earliest stays at a deluxe Disney resort was actually those two as well. When I came down to Disney when I was in college, I could, you know, I could just muster up enough money to get a few days at the All-Stars. When I came to interview for the industrial engineering position, they put me up at the Beach Club, the Yacht and Beach Club, the night before the interview. And by the time I got there, it was later in the evening. And all I could see was just this water out there. And at first I was like, wow, that lake really comes really close to the resort. And then I took a closer look and I'm like, oh my God, that's a swimming pool. I said, you know, this is like the most amazing swimming pool I've ever seen. And so, you know, I quickly fell in love with that resort. During Hurricane Francis in 2004, I volunteered to do what, and if any former cast members or current cast members are listening to this, they'll know what I mean when I say a ride out. I did a ride out at the Boardwalk where if a hurricane's coming, they offer cast members the opportunity to stay at a Disney resort and basically work at the resort for that time period. And so I did dishwashing at ESPN there for about 3 hours. And it was some of the most intense 3 hours of my life because it was the last meal people could get before they thought they were going to be locked inside for 3 or 4 days. So we had a line wrapped around the Boardwalk to get into ESPN. And I thought the dishwasher that was working was going to stay, but he after watching him for 5 minutes, go at a frenzy pace that I didn't think was humanly imaginable. He said, all right, good luck. And he took his apron off and gave it to me. And then that was my life for the next 3 hours. And then after that, I got to help make 5,000 ham and turkey sandwiches. We took the banquet space at the Boardwalk and we rolled out 6-foot tables, put plastic wrap on them. And it was like, roll out the bread. Okay, here comes the ham. Here comes the cheese. So, you know, not just for the obvious reasons how great those resorts are. I love them. I do have some personal connections to those resorts as well.
All right. Yeah, I thought that was a good question and a good question to end on. We're about an hour in now, and I know you've got stuff to do. I've got stuff to do. But Nick will be back. You'll see Nick. You'll see Nick again, I'm sure, many times. So, folks, thank you so much for joining us. And again, on behalf of all of us here, we wish you a very, very happy New Year, and looking forward to what 2021 has in store. So take care of yourselves, and we'll talk soon.